Hey guys, this is my first long format video. I'm gonna do it on RDLs, how to feel them, what you're using. I'm just gonna break down how to feel the glutes and hamstrings in an RDL. So what I wanna focus on is an RDL is a hip hinge, meaning we go back and forth, which means that if you take your hamstrings, they connect to the bottom of the hip and glutes, going to the top of the hip and bottom of the hip. When you go right here, picture this band, we're going back and this gets stretched. These bands get stretched and this gets stretched to snap forward and push us forward. Oftentimes when people do an RDL, they'll go right here, but because they don't know how to stretch this muscle, what they'll do is they'll go here and then turn it into a squat and go down. And what I like to tell people is imagine your hips are on a track, okay? And if my hips are right here on a track, they never move off the track. They never dip below the track. We want to keep it on one plane pushing back. One way to feel what it feels like to create a stretch in your hamstrings is grab onto a pole and just let yourself sink back till you get like a pressure or pulling sensation in the back of your hamstrings, and then take it one step further and go back into the glutes. So now when in this position right here, I have a pull right here or pressure, and then I have a pull right here or pressure. That's what's loading the muscles to push us forward by driving through our heel. Now, common things people do with this exercise is they'll hyperextend. So they'll go, and this will be compressed because they're hyperextending their lower back and the abs aren't engaged. So one thing I always tell people is take your rib cage, lock it down into your pelvis, and then what I want you to do is push into your sides. So push into your sides right here and take a deep breath, and this should expand right here. If this doesn't expand, you need to get that down. I have a video on that, it's 90-90 breathing, but breathe into your diaphragm and your sides and then pull that down. That's gonna hold this brace, and what you wanna do is you wanna lock this brace in while going into that stretch of right here. So now do you notice the difference between this and this and this and this? This one's hyperextended, that's gonna go all to my lower back, and I'm not gonna be able to feel it in my hamstrings because my lower back's taking over the load. I lost my train of thought. If we go and focus on holding this brace and we get that down, we wanna go in with the lats as well. Now, the lats go from here to here and connect into the back of the tricep. Think of the lats as two pillars that on the backside hold us up from rounding. To engage the lats, what I tell people is take your arm, squeeze it to the side, roll back. You'll feel flexion right here. Now we're telling all these things broken up into different segments so we can piece it all together. So if you're having difficulty with bracing the lats, do some drills to brace the lats. If you're having difficulty with the brace, do some drills to feel the brace. If you're having difficulty with the glutes and hamstrings, do some hamstring and glute activities to encourage to feel that. Because what we want to do is we want to take the feeling of the hamstrings, glutes, the brace of the abs, and tension in the lats, and put it all into one foundational movement. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna get tension in the lats, down. So we're squeezing the lats. We're gonna get the brace. So now we have lats and brace involved. We're not letting go of that. We're gonna hold that, and then we're gonna go into that stretch and the hamstrings and glutes. One way to create stability in the glutes as well is people will say knees out, but we could easily just go knee out without doing anything. The idea of knees out is that you're rotating the femur, hip capsule, femur, hip capsule. We're doing this. When we rotate, we're screwing it into place to create stability in the hips. And the way you do that is if you put your hands on the side of your glute and you go and you flex the sides, you can feel your butt cheeks flex. And now when you do that, you hold this tension here, tension in the abs, tension in the lats, and then we go down. Now you'll notice when you first start this, it's really hard to do all of them at once because you're teaching a new skill. And in doing this, you might notice that it's more challenging, but it's more challenging because you're using more muscle groups and you're doing it the appropriate way. It's gonna protect your body from using your lower back or compensating with your upper back or letting this round. We're teaching you correct posture, alignment, and activation of specific muscles. So now to put it all together, we take a kettlebell and we're holding it. Okay, so I got my foot placement. I have equal pressure on the bottom of my feet. I'm gonna activate the glutes to stabilize right there. The idea of stabilizing this too is to stabilize laterally, because without this, we're just gonna shift side to side. So feet, glutes, brace the abs, lats. All of that's engaged. We're gonna go for that stretch and pressure in the back of our glutes and our hamstrings. So now I feel a nice pull, and then we're gonna push forward through the heels. This doesn't need to be a fast movement. It doesn't need to be a bunch of reps. It just needs to be quality using the right muscle groups. And if you could get this down, we're having all of those cues in place and you're using them, you'll notice you'll get more out of your hip hinge. But it's really important to focus on the fact of not letting yourself round the upper back, hyperextend the lower back, let the toes come up off the ground. There's all these small nuances, is that the right word? Small nuances that can make a big difference on the lift. The biggest one that I see in most people though, is they'll go to right here and they'll stop. Learn to go into this while still holding the brace. That's number one, holding the brace while going into the glutes. Those are the main things you want to do with that. If you guys have any questions or comments on anything that I talked about, please feel free to comment below. And thank you for the support. Have a lovely day.